Hello, Fire Goddesses. Welcome to episode 65. Today I have guest Sylvia Otvos in the house where we talk about pretty much everything involving the voice and leading a path with heart. As you will quickly discover, Sylvia has this luminous energy. I love talking with her. She has an amazing voice too, which you will quickly discover. And we really just had a nice chat about how women really need this opportunity. They need this space. They need the support in order to feel like they can use their voice. And that's what this episode is all about. I can't wait to present it to you. I can't wait to introduce you to Sylvia Otvos. Hello, Fire Goddesses. Welcome to the Reclaim Your Fire podcast. My name is Angela Noel, and I am a prosperity coach for the newly awakened or awake curious, driven overachiever, and overdoer. After running a successful acupuncture practice in Boston for 12 years, I decided to hang my hat by closing the practice and pursue what it is that I'm really meant to do in this world, and that is to serve humanity online on a global scale. Using my background in Chinese medicine, along with the brain science of habits, spirituality, and divine masculine and feminine energy balance, I am here to help you not just understand, but know how powerful you are and that you are the person who is responsible for having the finances, inner peace, radiant health, and energy, aka the fire, in your life that you've always desired. My intention with this podcast is to serve humanity, no matter what gender you identify as, to help bring out the divine feminine goddess in each and every one of you. As you probably are already aware, the world is changing and is begging for the goddess to come out in each and every one of you. So, Fire Goddesses, stay tuned. Hello, Fire Goddesses. Welcome to another episode of the Reclaim Your Fire podcast. I am your host, Angela Noel, and today I have another special guest, Sylvia Otvos. Sylvia, welcome.
Thank you, Angela. So happy to be here.
I'm really happy to have you. I'm really excited. We talked a little offline before we pressed record, and I'm really excited about what's to come. So
I know I felt we should have recorded what we talked about before, because now, will that come back? I don't know, but it'll be just as good, I'm sure, or no, if not better, right?
I know. We could bottle that, but yeah, I'm sure it will be even better. So I would love if you could just tell the audience, tell the goddesses listening who you are and who you help.
Well, great question to start. I am Sylvia Otvos. I am in Montreal, Canada, and Angela and I know each other from a mutual group that we are in. And I do many things, Angela. I do many things. And I had an aha moment in the last months that my many things turn around using our voices. And as a career, I have two businesses. One, I run a doula agency here in Montreal and sell online courses worldwide, prenatal courses. And most of my time is spent as a visibility and business coach for my company, So Vibrant Business Coaching, where I help women in their prime rediscover their voices. What do they want in life? What are their truths? What are they, what is the next chapter? Mostly women entrepreneurs. So helping them, rediscover their voices, their messages so that they can attract their ideal clients and then in turn make more money to live that life and that abundant life that we want to be living and that we deserve to be living. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love what you said about just the voice aspect. And I know it's kind of how we're thinking we want to center this episode, because voice is so important, especially for women, isn't it?
It definitely is. And as I get older, I realize even more so. And I started out my very first career, going 20 something, going to university, was in a bachelor's of music, studying classical voice as an opera singer. And then throughout that time, I realized I don't have I didn't have what it took in different senses of that phrase. I didn't have what it took to become an opera singer. And however, using my voice, that's where it all began. I just loved singing throughout since I was a kid.
Mm.
From there, I then took other jobs. I took the safe route instead of becoming a full-time musician, took the safe route and did a master's in business. And never knew that I would become an entrepreneur years later. Isn't that how it often goes, right? But I just jumped and had a fun time. Worked in different areas, and then when I was 40 and pregnant with my third child, I was working for a university, and my job was abolished. They were doing massive management cuts, and I was like, do I just stay the safe route again? But my soul had been calling me to have more impact in the world. And I said, how could that play out? And lo and behold, I had accumulated some doula books on my nightstands after having two of my first two kids. I'd had doulas, and it was just such a beautiful experience with them. And I started buying the books. And my husband said, well, why don't you become a doula? I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, sure. Why I have been wanting to. Why don't I do that? So when I had my little one, she was 2 months old. I took her to some trainings. And in that maternity year that we have here, I certified as a doula and I realized now that really helping women through their childbirthing year and advocating for them, helping them use their voices in the birth room. And it is such an important part of the work that me and my team that we do together to help women and new families. So that was another aspect of using the voice.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how your whole, your history really began with your voice and how you've reinvented yourself, Sylvia, into different, just morphed into your next level, but still focusing on using your voice. That's really incredible because you're also a voiceover artist as well, right?
Yes. As I've been doing this, I would say for the last 15 years. So even before becoming a doula, I was working in management positions,
Wow.
and yes, I had the opportunity to start using my voice as voicing e-learning videos, radio commercials, some television commercials. There's a pharmacy here in Canada, and I'm the self-checkout voice in the pharmacy. So it's been something that I really enjoy doing, and I continue to do so. And you're right, it is. I still that's I think my music degree helped me launch into that, but I wish I could say I had planned this all out. I really wish I could and say, yes, this is where I was going. And it doesn't work that way, or it didn't work that way for me. And I think you're a good example too. You trained in certain things, and now you're also working differently and serving differently.
Yeah, yeah. If you had said the same thing, if you told me even a few years ago that I'd be coaching and not practicing acupuncture anymore, I wouldn't have believed you. I thought I was going to practice acupuncture until retirement and beyond that. So I love, and so many of the best plans are the plans that we don't make. And I think there's a quote that's very similar that I can't remember, but I just love how organic and how it sounds like you just went with the flow.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend recently, and we were talking about that, how my path hasn't been linear, and some people would beat themselves up about that. And I was like, how did I make these choices? Certain choices were made with the heart. Say my music degree, my doula degree, and where I am now, my coaching. So most of them have been made with the heart. Where I got maybe sidetracked, but has been very useful, was after my music degree. I went and did the master's in business, and that was more of a left brain thought, saying, "Oh my gosh." My money stories were coming up, my limiting money stories, saying musicians can't make money. And that went back to my parents. My father's an artist. We did not have much money growing up, and saying, how can I do a master's now and accumulate even more debt when, being a musician? So what else could I do? And I'd always had jobs and odd jobs here and there, sales. I worked at a gym. I worked so many places in my university. So yeah, I said, well, management, I'm good at managing, and I did do really well, and I really enjoyed it. But being open to these experiences, and I'm coming back to that, the universe kicking me in the butt saying, no, Sylvia, you need more impact than just, not just, but than what you're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
How can you serve differently and have a bigger impact? And that's when the idea of starting my business as a doula, and very successful right from the get-go. And I think when it does come from a place of love and heart and passion, it's easier to become a success, or whatever that means for you, than when it comes begrudgingly, left brain.
I love, you said a lot of things there, Sylvia, but I love what you just said, is that when you do things with heart, that is really when, and you said it beautifully. I don't know that I can repeat it, but basically that's really when you experience the expansion and the success, actually, that so many of us dream of, is when you follow a path, not only with heart, but in what I'm hearing too, is this desire to serve
Yes.
women, for women who maybe felt that they didn't have a voice when they were having a baby, and no matter whatever their situation was when they were giving birth. And I know that, when working with fertility patients with acupuncture, that was a big, big concern, right? And so many people, we live in this society where so many of us grow up believing that there's all these have tos. And I can relate so much to your story, as not to make this, but when you talked about music, I also wanted to be a music major. And I was told by a lot of people, don't do it. You're not going to make any money, do this. So I hear you on that. And I guess I just want to reflect that back to you, that, what really, when things started to shift for you, it sounds like, was when you really were hearing this voice within you that you wanted to make an impact and you wanted to help others with their voices. So many people struggle in life. And, for the goddesses listening, I invite you to really to take a pause here and maybe even listen to this again and consider, am I forcing versus allowing? Am I, whose voices am I listening to? Am I listening to my inner voice, my inner knowing? Do I even know what that sounds like? Because so many people don't even know who they are or what that voice sounds like. Or am I listening to external, mom and dad? So many people are still listening to their parents, even at, 50 years old, right?
Yeah, we were just talking about that before, about how our parents have such a hold on us until we don't allow that anymore, right? It's
Yeah.
yeah, and the voice has so many layers when we talk about the voice. There's the voice that we use, of course, but when we talk about the voice, that inner knowing, and the world is so loud. The world is just so noisy. And taking that time, I think we have to really put it in the agenda almost, take time to be silent, because otherwise we just get caught up. And then I love what you said, Angela, whose voice are we actually listening to? And it goes back to, whose fears are we taking on? Whose direction are we, taking? Is it really, really what I want? And I just turned the big 50 a couple months ago, and it's that has been an invitation to really step into that question and finding the answers for myself. I also have the podcast with a good friend of mine, and we discuss very similar things as we're talking about today. It's called Your Next 50 Podcast, and it's really, what is that next chapter going to look like for you? And it's not too late. There's so many people nowadays. 50 is not like when it was when our mothers or when our grandmothers. My grandmother came here from Hungary, and she was only 40 but she did not learn the language. She did not didn't go back to school, all these things, because she thought she was too old. Now it's not the same. So I invite, yes, the goddesses, step into that power. Be intentional. We have so many more years ahead of us.
So many more years. And for many women who are moms, right, a lot of their kids are, approaching teenagehood, or they're getting older and more independent, or they're even out of the house. And, I know this is a really pivotal time for moms. What is the name of your podcast? And the next 50? Is that it?
Your next 50.
Your next 50, which is such a
next
wonderful
50.
title. Like, so much of it is, I know there is a period of time of who am I? And then, but there's so much power. And like you said, 50 now is like, 35 was in the 70s,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Right. I mean, I remember seeing 50-year-olds, and maybe it's also perspective, but I think I was looking at a friend recently posted a picture of her dad online when he was like in his late 40s, because he had passed. And he looked like, this is back, a long time ago. And he looked like so much older. And I remember people just looked so much older in their late 40s and 50s. And now we have so much knowledge and power about our health, and, it's, how we can really stand in our power and be more healthy and be, make decisions and choices that are for the better good of our health, and so I could go on about health. I don't want to go into that rabbit hole, but
well, I agree with you, right? That's like my one of my the top value that I have is health. And we know, yes, we're not going to talk about health today, but it is important. It is very important. And without it, the next 50 will be more difficult. That's what I always say, right? I want to be, when I hear people talk about weight loss and whatnot, I was like, no, I want to be strong. I want to be, strong. And so that when I'm going into these next 50 years, that I will still be active and be able to live a very active and fulfilling life. Right.
Absolutely.
What I think stops a lot of people, from making those jumps that they might have thought or have been thinking of making is fear. We fear a lot of things. Fear of the unknown, fear of being judged, fear of being laughed at, being criticized. What are they going to say? What are our parents going to say? What's my husband going to say? What's my girlfriend going to say? What are my kids going to say as we get older too?
Yeah, everybody has an opinion, and it's so true. Even though, I feel like even when we were talking before, self-confidence, even the most self-confident people need to work on their confidence, and so much of what other people are going to say, right? And not feeling like they are part of the tribe, right? Because back in the day, right, it was really important to belong and agree, and now it's not as important. But that stays with us until we make a conscious decision to let that go. And it's a never-ending job, which I'm sure, is that how you help? Are you helping women just dismantle beliefs as part of your work with them?
Definitely. Right. It's women entrepreneurs like yourself. We often go into entrepreneurship not knowing much about business, but because it's passion driven. I work with a lot of, service-based industry, women in service-based industries. And so they go into it with this passion, this desire, but then they're doing all the things, or they're afraid to move forward, or it's, all of these obstacles come into their way, but many of them, they're just up in your head. We're putting our, we have to get out of our own way. So that's my work with women. And how do we use that? I work with a lot, you have to market yourself. So as a visibility coach, it's not just about being seen, but it's how am I going to use my voice? What is the message that I want to say to the world? There is a deeper, it's not just, I want to be a great accountant. There's a deeper purpose. So we, have to delve into what is that deeper purpose. I want, as women, I invite women to take their seat at the table. And as women of our age, I invite them a step further and saying, let's help the younger women below, not below us, I don't like that word, but around the table as well, next to us. Let's give them opportunities that perhaps we didn't get. Let's be those role models. And my daughters, I have two daughters. I have three kids with two daughters that are 11 and 9. They have become like this deeper purpose in me has just arisen. Like I want them to not fear speaking up and asking for what they want. And that's a training that we do now with them. If they come home, my daughter said, Mommy, in gym class, she separated the boys and the girls, and I really didn't like that. And I said, okay, well, maybe next time in gym class, maybe you have to go and say something to her. Oh, I could never say that. And we have to, why couldn't you, break it down? Well, those fears stay with us until we're 50, oh, I couldn't possibly rock the boat. Couldn't possibly tell her how I really feel. She might get mad at me.
And it's so interesting how, kids are getting that in school, even though, like, I feel like parents are becoming more and more conscious, but that, old way that probably you and I experienced when we were in school about speaking up and raising your hand, right? Whereas the boys were just, they didn't hold back, but the girls would just like sit in the corner quietly, and how that's kind of still being instilled. And I just love that, you're raising really strong women. And
I think it's the awareness, isn't it? I'm very blessed to be aware of these and work in it every day. And so challenging the women I work with to step up and to have those big dreams and big goals. Like I said, it's not too late. Some people think it's too late, and I'm like, it's never too late. There are some amazing things happening, women doing amazing things at 75, starting businesses, the so many things. And it's beautiful to see. So when we're stopping ourselves, and I've worked in a place where people just stayed because they were not necessarily happy, but they had good benefits. They had, good vacation. They were paid well, but and perhaps that's just my bias. I have always been a go-getter. I am ambitious.
Yeah.
I like to set myself apart and do different things. I like to try different things. And I know not everybody is like that, and that's okay too.
I'm just curious to know, as far as moving from the corporate world into coaching, I mean, what was that, if you could dive deep into a little, like, to the audience, for those that may be in a corporate job or management and they're not totally thrilled with that, and they're having this yearning like you described, if you could share your story, what really was that final straw for you to step into coaching and leave corporate, leave your management or your job?
Well, it was that. It's a great question, because I wish I could tell, looking back, I would say, yes, I found myself a mentor and really delved deep, and I really made that decision myself. And actually it was put upon me as my job was abolished. And here I was pregnant with my third child.
Yeah.
And then saying, I don't know, can we swear on this episode, Angela? I don't know, but what the heck? What the hell am I going to do now? What am I going? I was, filled with anger at first that this was happening to me, that I was, growing my family and this was happening, but it's the best thing that could have happened to me, because I was not happy. I wasn't, and I knew it. Now, when these moments, when I talk to women who share their perhaps some unhappiness, like, well, that's a trigger. That is your body manifesting, your thoughts. If they're going towards being unhappy, well, let's delve into that. Let's not be afraid of what the answers might be. We don't have to act on them right now, but let's let that grow. Let's let that simmer and think of all the possibilities of what life could look like. Why would we want to just sit and just be in this puddle of unhappiness in life when we have one life?
We have one life. And I love how you touched upon that point about how your job ending was the best thing, because I I remember there was a period of time where it seemed like a lot of people were getting laid off when I had my practice in Boston. I think it was the times, where a lot of that was going on. And there was so much fear around, oh my God, I'm next. And really, like you said, every single thing that appears bad or negative is an opportunity to, and I know sometimes it's easier said than done, but it's an opportunity for growth. And the universe has this way, right, of knocking us over the head. And, it starts with a whisper. I always say it starts with a whisper and ends with a roar. And if you're still not listening, then you're going to get knocked over the head. Right?
Well, you do. And I got knocked over the head, Angela. I really did. It was just, and I had known, like, I had the whispers and I didn't take action, and I could have taken action differently. Perhaps, ask someone to mentor me. I was still, very young. I could have, gone a different way in that company, or, hone in my managerial skills differently, but I didn't. And I can't tell you now why I didn't. But I was having my children too. I think at that point in time, I'd had a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and I was pregnant again. So it wasn't the time for me to be taking on more responsibilities, but I needed a change. And that change came. And again, with hindsight, I can say, wow, I wouldn't be where I am now. Look at the life I've created compared to the life that was, the career that was given to me, in those structured settings, which is the corporate world and nonprofit world, right? Where you have to fit in a certain way. And if you don't, and it was very hierarchical and bureaucratic, it was very, anyway, it was just a different lifestyle. So creating our lifestyle, what do we want to create? So that's where the invitation now with the women I work with is, what are we going to create next? Like, what's on your plate? What do you have dreams of? And it could be traveling. It could be a summer home. It could be downsizing. It could be whatever it is that you want that will bring you joy.
Yeah.
And joy is one of my top values. And, those value, that core value exercise that I know you have done, and I've done several times. Once we really sit into it, and our lives, we reflect on that. Does this align, this decision I have to make, does it align with my values?
Yeah.
Then, that's a good decision if it does. And if it doesn't, well, okay, it might look good on paper, but then let's move on. There'll be a better
opportunity. And I think that's, exactly. That's a really great, for people who are like, I'm getting this invitation to do this. I really do invite people. And I'm pretty sure I did an episode on this, on values. Like, does it align with my top 3 values? And if not, move on, like you said. And if it feels hard or difficult, just the invitation is to lean in and know that, trust that something better, it will happen. The better house, the better apartment, the better job, the better client. Once you start, it's really, life is all about balance, right? In Chinese medicine, we talk about the yin and the yang. When you let go of something, it has, by the laws of the universe, something else is going to take its place. Yes. And I love how you touched upon that with values, because it makes making decisions so much easier when you.
Well, doesn't it? All those, make those to-do list, like those pros and cons lists. And I was like, yeah, but what's missing in those lists is the feeling of it, the intuition that you just know. And we all know, everybody's had moments of that clarity of knowing, but the brain just kicks in and said, oh no, I have all these responsibilities. I should really do this. Right. Yeah. And it's when we start with saying, oh, I should really do this. Let's rephrase it. What do I want to do? What do I get to do? What do I wake up in the morning feeling really excited to do?
Yes.
And move towards that. Right. So for listeners, if you're not there yet, it's like, just allow yourself to dream. And that, means silence, going into silence, sitting with it, journaling, brainstorming.
Yeah.
That allowing ourselves to dream, and because anything is possible. It really is. And I truly live by that. I really believe that.
Yeah, and your energy is so infectious. I just
Mm.
want to, I want to honor that part of you, Sylvia. Is that to look at you, you beam with light and joy, and
Oh,
for those
thank
that are
you.
listening, because this will not be a video. You can probably hear it in Sylvia's voice. I mean, there's just so much joy, so much happiness, and I really want to, if you don't get anything else out of this conversation, which I'm sure you will, is that anything is possible. You can have happiness and joy every day. And it's, the reason why, if you're sitting here listening and you're in doubt, hearing those words, no, it's not necessarily your fault. It comes from a belief that is not yours. And there is an opportunity to release that. And usually it comes down to, like you said, fear, lack of self-worth, lack of self-confidence, all the things. So many, human beings, I think in general, but since we're talking about women today, struggle with. So if some,
Oh, yeah. Yes. And the work that I do is, getting people to be visible. Well, gosh, you can just feel people. I can feel you all cringing there. A lot of people cringe. I have to be visible. I don't want to be visible.
yeah,
And it comes back to that confidence piece. So I definitely, we work on confidence, and it's small steps. We're not asking, we're not going from A to Z. We're going from A to B. We're going step by step. And what does that look like? And then you wake up, a year later, 2 years later, and you go, oh my gosh, I'm not the same person I was. Right? It just changes your whole. Neither of us are the same as we were last year, six
no,
months ago, last week, even. Gosh,
I
you know.
know, I know.
And I don't. I want people to think. I don't want people to listen and say, "Oh my gosh, she's got it all planned out." I don't. Like you said, I go with heart-centered decisions, opportunities that arise. Do I take them or do I not take them? What am I going to create today? I've been sitting on programs right now for a little while, and I want to get them out there.
Mhm.
I've been sitting. Why am I sitting? I ask myself that the same thing. Why am I sitting on these? Oh, maybe no one's going to join. Maybe, they're not the right ones. We all have that. We all
Yeah,
have that. But I think it's until we then just put it out there and see what the next thing will be, right? It's again, and not a I not the leaving those expectations out as well. I think is important to. But having goals, I mean, of course, I'm a business coach. I will tell you, well, what are your three things today, Angela? What are you going to do? But, it's in a bigger scheme of what's the bigger scheme, the
yeah,
bigger picture.
yeah. And I love how you said, just mentioned, even just talking about your program, why haven't I launched it? And that is always a good, that is always a good step to take if you're in business and you're not taking action, or even if
Mm.
you're not in business, there's something you have to do and you're not doing, you're procrastinating. That really is, procrastination is just an opportunity for you to look at yourself, look in the mirror and say, why, what's causing this? And why am I not moving forward? And if it's fear of failure, I love, are you familiar with Sarah Blakely from Spanx?
Yes, yes, yeah.
You know the story where she talks about like how she'd be having dinner with her family at night, and her dad would ask, I think she has a brother, how did you fail today? And they would
Yeah.
just say, they would talk about all their failures and celebrate those, because, and what that did was made her unafraid to fail, because then she
Mm.
created Spanx. She was literally going, door to door with her, cut off pantyhose and
Yeah,
say, look at
yeah,
this
yeah.
amazing product I have. And it took many, many tries until she finally got
Imagine.
room or something. So
Yeah, we're not taught to fail, are we? We're taught to succeed.
yeah,
But failing means trying, and so many successful, again, success, I'm talking business success, successful businesses, you'll see that you talk to them and listen to their bios, and they've tried so many different things until they've, just gotten to where they are.
yeah,
And sometimes it's just an amazing opportunity. And the more people you meet, the more you talk, the more podcasts you get on like this one,
yes.
it's saying yes. What are we saying yes to?
Yeah, exactly. You're so right about that too. It's really a matter of and I know everybody has a different process depending on, if you follow human design or astrology or your personality,
Yes.
whatever it is you follow, everybody's different. But yeah, I can totally, when you said talking to people, getting on podcasts, saying yes, if that is something that resonates with you, and really just sometimes just getting on, like I'll get on my phone and just record and start talking. Whatever it is to move. In Chinese medicine, we talk about flow and moving chi, moving our life force, because being stagnant is not where creativity isn't born out of stagnancy. It's created out of flow. So I love when you mentioned just talking to
That's
people.
beautiful. Yeah. Well, that's it for me. I am a connector. I am a people person. I do really well working with others, and my podcast is co-hosted with my best friend in music school, and both of us are now coaches. Shout out to Jenny Mitchell. And we just have so much fun with it, and we get to meet every week to plan it. And I was like, I invite you to think who could you bring on board, to make, move these projects forward and make them fun. Again, joy is it might not be your one of your values, but for me, that's always like, who can I get? Who do I want to work with now? Let's make this fun.
Yeah.
And I think then the energy changes. Then we totally bring a different energy to the game.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. And I'm just hearing the quote, the world is your oyster, right? There's so many opportunities. Yeah. Well, Sylvia, I feel like we could just go on and talk about
I think we could
using your voice.
Talk all day.
I know. But yeah, I want to honor everybody's time here. But thank you so much for your time and for your energy and your wisdom and for your light energy. I really, really appreciate you bringing that today.
Oh, my pleasure, Angela. It's been so lovely to connect with you. And I love that we both work with amazing women who have so much to contribute to the world. And I truly believe that when women use their voices, we can change the world, and we are changing the world. And I invite everybody to ponder that today. Like, how am I going to use my voice?
So beautiful. So I'm curious to know, and for the goddesses wondering, I will put it all in the show notes, but if anyone's listening and wants to find you right away, and maybe they want to talk to you, you have a podcast, and yeah.
I do have a podcast. You can find us on Apple. It's Your Next 50. And you will find, I believe we're up to 50 episodes, or all close to. This summer, I think we reached the 1 year mark. And if not, Instagram, Facebook, you can find me there. I think we'll put the links in the show notes, LinkedIn as well.
Yes.
And yes.
Awesome.
I'd love to connect. If you are needing some confidence and know you need to be visible in your businesses, please reach out. I would love to help.
Yeah, Sylvia is definitely your woman if you want to connect and be more visible. Absolutely. She is an expert and a star at this. So Sylvia, thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, everyone, for listening.
All right, goddesses, until next time, be radiant and take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Reclaim Your Fire podcast. If you have found value in this podcast, please share this podcast with those you care about. As you probably already know, in order for the world to change, we need to change. So spread the word by sharing this podcast or by leaving a review in iTunes. Until next time, Fire Goddess, be radiant, be fiery, and be powerfully authentic. Take care.